Friday farm vlog, and today is the day that Miss Sandra here needs to join her flock again. So Miss Sandra's been living in my garage while she's recovered from her injuries on her back that we suspect is due to the puppy trying to play with her. But she is all healed up now. We did try a couple weeks ago integrating her with the flock by putting her in the coop at night when everyone was sleeping, and that did not go well. They pecked her and pushed her off the roost, and she had a slight limp, so we brought her back in and let that heal up. So her leg is all better, she's good to go, everything's healed up. She's still got some purple feathers from the medication we were using, the blue coat spray, but she's looking good. We did put a chicken skirt on her to protect her back from the roosters originally, but I feel like the chicken skirt just sets her apart from the rest of the chickens, so we're gonna try her without it. And instead of doing it at night this time, I'm going to try doing it during the day so I can supervise how they do. And I'm gonna give them some treats so that they can all just eat together, and hopefully the bullying won't be too bad with her getting reintroduced back into the flock. But I do expect some pecking because they'll have to reestablish the pecking order, which is typical with chickens. But I'll show you here. She's got all the purple, but the actual injury, there's pink here, but it's completely covered. There's no more actual wound, just scarring. And between her wings and her feathers here, it's all covered up. She looks pretty cool though with the purple feathers. Right, Miss Sandra? Alright, let's let her join the flock. Chickies! So that went better than the last time. The roosters are showing interest there. Got Clifford right now following her around. Of course, they haven't seen her in over a month, so she's the new chicken back in the group. I'm just hopeful that they're gonna let her back into the fold, and when they go to the coop tonight and they're all getting on the roosts, that they're more welcoming to her than they were last time. But I'll follow them in tonight and just make sure that everything's going okay. We certainly don't want another injury. I just got my garage back. I really don't think she minded being in the garage. She was laying eggs in there and enjoying the kittens and strutting around, had the whole place to herself with the kittens, so it wasn't too bad. And now she's got both roosters just watching her. Seems like the roosters are trying to decide which flock she's going to belong to because they each have their own ladies. Alright, well, the roosters are welcoming to her. We had a couple hens that weren't happy about her presence, but they seem to have calmed down now, so I'm hopeful that it was just a little scuffle and they got that out of their system. Hopefully it'll go smoother from here on out, but I'll be keeping an eye on it today. It feels like it's like 80 degrees inside of this greenhouse. It's so nice in here. Up here, the broccoli, kale, cauliflower, they are doing well. They're growing well. I do notice they're starting to lean towards the light, so I am going to rotate them so that they'll start leaning in the opposite direction. And then the same for some of these lettuce. The taller ones back here are starting to lean towards the sun, so I am going to rotate those around. And then the others here are still pretty small, so those are okay, but I'm happy to see they're growing. Look at these tomatoes. They are almost ready for me to thin them. I am hopeful to be able to save as many of them as I can and put them in their own pots. They are almost ready. I just want them to develop their leaves a bit more on top before I actually separate them. They are leaning towards the sun, so these will also get flipped around so that they can head in the other direction and straighten out a bit. But I think this coming week they'll be big enough to where I'll tease them apart and put them in separate pots. So I'll make a video when I do that so you can see how that all goes. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with the germination rate of these tomatoes because there is quite a few in here. Every single one of these pots is growing tomato plants. I think I'm gonna move these up to the top because they've been on the bottom this whole time, so they have received less sunlight than the others. So I'm gonna do a little switcheroo so they can get a bit more sunlight, and I'll move the lettuce down to the bottom. Do you want to see what didn't germinate? Let's check it out. The sweet peppers in this one did not germinate, and only one sweet pepper in this one germinated. So this sweet pepper, hopefully we can get into a mature plant and get it out in the garden and get some sweet peppers because we're relying on this one. This is the only one. With a low germination rate, I may pick up a new hot pepper packet and try germinating some seeds from a new packet. Maybe that one was a little old. Alright, what else? Let's see. The sweet Italian basil did not come up in this one. However, we did get the Genovese basil. And this one here is a Genovese basil as well. So 4 basil plants. So not the best germination rate there, but at least I got 4 basil plants growing. Alright, so all the tomatoes were good. Basil and the sweet peppers we had some issues with. And then down here, Bib lettuce did not come up. Okay, so 1 Bib lettuce and 2 iceberg lettuce pots did not germinate. But the rest of the lettuce seeds that were planted, those are germinated. So we still have plenty of lettuce that we'll be able to harvest. So overall, I am happy with how it's going so far. Aren't they just the cutest? And I've got something else cute to show you. Oh. Yes. Yes. Okay. And I have something else cute to show you. It just happened to come out of our incubator. Bet you can guess what they are. We have 3 beautiful chicks. 3 beautiful chicks left, I should say. Because we had 20 go to one home, another 10 to another home. And there's these 3 chicks left. The 3 little babies are waiting to go to their homes, and we have fired up the incubators, and we're going to be putting in more hatching eggs for the next orders. They're so cute. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love them. What sweet little babies. So the incubators got all cleaned up. And I've been checking their temperature, make sure that they are right on track, which they are. They're both at the correct temperature. I do have to add water for the humidity, but I am waiting on these hatching eggs to come to room temperature. So the hatching eggs, I like to come to room temperature for 24 hours. I also like the incubators to run for a full 24 hours so I can make sure that they are staying at the right temperature, no fluctuations, and that I can get that humidity level right before I put the actual eggs in there. Now you might be wondering about the hatch rates for the 2 incubators of this previous hatch. So interesting on the results for that. I had 1 incubator that did fantastic, and a 2nd incubator did not do well at all. So I have left a message with the incubator company to have them help me with troubleshooting what's going on with the 2nd incubator, because normally we have excellent hatches, and this incubator had a 95% hatch rate, whereas this incubator had a 52% hatch rate. So there was a big discrepancy, even though I was using the same eggs from my farm. They were all stored the same, kept the same temperature, and I was adding the water in similar quantities for the humidity level. They're in the same location, all on the same settings, so I'm really hopeful that Manna Pro can help me figure out exactly what is going on, why we had a poor hatch rate in one and an excellent hatch rate in the other, so that hopefully this time we will have great hatch rates again in both. And speaking of chicks, just one more story farm here. We're going to be getting our own chicks that we are going to be bringing in the hopes of bringing in some more genetics for our flock. And I had talked to you last time about how I was looking for chicks to order, but I couldn't find any until like September. So then I started looking into getting hatching eggs from a local breeder, potentially, of Buff Orpingtons. That didn't go well. Most of the people that I called in regards to that did not have Buff Orpington hatching eggs. I did find one Buff Orpington breeder in Maine who was willing to ship me hatching eggs, which I was so excited about. However, I was also continuing to look for chicks, and I was able to order Buff Orpington chicks from Hoover Hatchery, and they're scheduled to ship to me on June 27th. The reason I decided to go with Hoover Hatchery is because I can get live chicks that are female, so getting 20 chicks that are more than likely all female, so that I'll have a larger selection to choose from for who I will keep for my flock, because I just want to keep the best genetics for my flock, versus if I were to get hatching eggs. I was looking for 20 hatching eggs, and approximately half of those would have been roosters, which is okay, but that leaves me with potentially 10 females to choose from if all the eggs hatched. But eggs that are shipped have a lower hatch rate typically, and so I may not have gotten that many female chicks to choose from once you factor in hatchability. So it seemed like the better option would be to go through the hatchery in this case, because I want a larger quantity so that I can only keep the best. Also, it did come down to price as well. The price for 20 chicks from Hoover Hatchery was approximately $100 for the chicks, and there was no shipping charge. I also opted to get the Merrick's vaccine too, that was factored in there. Whereas the hatching eggs were $5 per egg, which for 20 eggs would have been $100, and then shipping from Maine was going to be $50. So $150 for hatching eggs, and likely I may have gotten 10 females if I was like had a really good hatch and it was 50-50, whereas for $100 I get 20 chicks as long as they survive the trip in the mail. So I'm hopeful that we picked correctly with going with the hatchery, and I'm excited to meet all the little chicks in June. And we'll be hatching chicks. Right now our wait list is through June, so they'll continue to hatch and go to their new homes, and then we'll get our chicks to raise up at the end of June. Springtime, it's such a fun season. So these eggs, I'm going to get them washed up, I'm going to get them sanitized, set them up in the incubators, and we'll start day 1 with the incubation process, and then in 3 weeks we'll see some chickie babies. And if you haven't started your farm yet, what are you waiting for? Get your farm on.
Like and subscribe.
1, 2, 3, 4. Do you want to farm? A wicked awesome farm. Watch this channel to learn what to do. We love to farm and we'll show you. Yeah, welcome to our show.